All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is Sunday Site Visit 56, and today we will continue our research expedition to investigate the temple sites of Luxor in search of evidence showing the foundations of more ancient construction and revealing the original intended function of these perplexing structures. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage. Check out the Land of Chem members only channel and thelandofchem.com if you want to pick up a copy of the book or grab some merch. Today I'm rocking the 6th Degree Green Lion logo, one of my current favorite t-shirts. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our two new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats, for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro. So without further ado, let's get right to it. First, a quick announcement. The second 2024 Land of Chem Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour is on, and bookings are now available. If you're interested in joining to see the pyramids for yourself on this epic adventure experience coming up in early winter this year, please send me an email to contact@thelandofchem.com with the subject line, Egypt Tour 3, and I will send you the full tour itinerary and pricing details. Thank you all so much, and I will see you soon here in Egypt. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. And to begin, here is a diagram showing the direct connection between the Luxor temple that we visited last week here and the Karnak temple that we will visit today here. And yes, these were never intended to be isolated structures, but rather joined together via this 3-kilometer long avenue of sphinxes, which is very reminiscent to the Beckhampton and West Kennet Stone avenues that we explored in England that connect the various components of the Avebury Serpent Temple complex, the function of which was revealed in Members Only Episode 6. Now, this is a spectacular depiction from discoveringegypt.com showing the Karnak Temple, which is the largest temple complex that has ever been built. And to give you a comparison of the size of this structure, the Great Pyramid of Giza covers 13 acres, but the Karnak Temple in Luxor spans an immense footprint of 200 acres. And I have already given you a huge clue about the function of this structure. And for now, I will leave it at that. As I mentioned in last week's episode, I will be doing a full series discussing the function of these temple complexes coming up soon. So before we get to the footage, the entire reason for our expedition to Luxor was a private, special permission access into the Osireion in Abydos, due to my recent research on the structure, as featured in episode 111 and in episode 118, the function of the Osireion. I was officially added to the Osireion 7 mission to investigate the source of the water below the structure, and I was invited by the lead archaeologists of the team, Jim Westerman and Dr. Ahmed Aziz from the Sohag University, to come to Abydos in person to participate in the ongoing archaeological exploration, and the footage from this expedition is now available exclusively on the Members Only channel in episode 10. So if you want to help support the channel and get access to this type of exclusive research, like the function of the Avebury Serpent Temple complex and the ongoing study of the Osireion, come join us on the dark side on the Members Only channel, link in the video description below. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I hope you enjoy the mind-blowing footage from one of the most impressive structures that I have ever visited, the Karnak Temple in Luxor. Let's go. All right, everyone, welcome back. Day 2 on our expedition to explore the ancient sites of Luxor. And it's already jam-packed in here, so I'm going to try to record around this huge group of tourists. But I wanted you to see a recreation of the structure that we're about to examine today. The Karnak Temple. The largest temple structure that was ever constructed in Egypt. And this is an exceptional recreation. And there are some areas of specific interest that we're going to investigate today, specifically the sacred lake. And again, we're on a mission to determine if this site has been constructed on a more ancient structure. An absolutely massive temple complex. And let me try to work around these people. And we'll see if we can get a quick shot of the entrance area around this guy here. All right, so we got a lot of ground to cover today. Got a juicy cigar. Pretty excited. All right, let's go. All right. So here we have the entrance to the structure. And out here in the front, it's very similar to what we see at the Valley Temple at Giza. You can see these inclined ramps here. There would have been a harbor out here, so you could dock your boats, and then ramps directly to access the structure. You'll see here that there's a line of sphinx here flanking the entrance to the structure. These have a bit different configuration where they have the head of a ram as opposed to the normal configuration, head of a man, body of a lion. And I will say it is beautiful out here. My wife Alexa, Ancient Odysseys. Let's go.
Però, come dicevo, in quanto anche vi ho fatto capire, era molto importante per ogni faraone, anche se per un giorno.
And here we can see the avenue of the ram-headed sphinx. In this form, the ram representing Amun-Ra. I have to say, I rather like this configuration with the ram head edition. All right. Again, to a more pristine, and just so you can get an idea of kind of what we're up against today. And Alexa over there in her purple dress, looking stunning. Lucky man. All right. The entrance of the temple. Much more impressive than what we saw yesterday at Luxor Temple. And I can already see one artifact of interest that I remember from my last visit here. Again, sort of the impetus for today's investigation is to determine if perhaps this temple was constructed on a more ancient site. And there are some indications that that may be the case, same as what we found at the Temple of Man in Luxor. So we're going to head in just a minute and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, now, so we're crossing through into the threshold interior of the structure. In an area of the site known as the Great Court. Basically the area that you can see here. So we just walked through this avenue here into this area here. And I'll try to stop at each one of these little displays so you can see exactly where we are within the temple. More of these ram-headed sphinxes over here. These chapel areas here. Interesting. These alcoves kind of remind me of what we saw at Casa Saga. Three here and two more here, excluding these on the side. So that would make the 7 cells. All right. So now we're going to walk around and doing my best to kind of avoid the wild groups of tourists in here. All right, so check this out. This is a huge piece of white calcite crystal, otherwise known as alabaster, laid into the floor in the center of this forecourt temple area. This is a huge single block of white calcite crystal. And you can see that this looks to be in the foundation of the temple floor. All of this here, this is modern restoration and tile work. But this piece of alabaster is extremely old. The same type of material that we find in the temple floor of the central pyramid, the valley temple at Giza, the white crystal that we found in the temple to the southeast of the pyramid of Menkaura on the Giza plateau. This is a spectacular piece. You can see the same crystalline grain of this material here where it's been cracked up. Okay, so the question is, what was the function of this component? Why would they embed this huge single block of white calcite crystal into the center of this temple? In terms of the surrounding components, it does not fit at all. And to me, this is a representation of a much older piece of this structure. And the rest of the temple was built around this piece. I think this thing is absolutely gorgeous. Asif, shukran. And the craftsmanship in the execution of this. Okay, so of course my other question is, how tall was this thing originally? And what was the shape of this thing originally? It's one of those things that perhaps we'll never know. It does look like the top has been completely cracked off. A very unusual artifact indeed. All right, pretty good start. And this area here is attributed to Ramses III.
Excuse me.
The remains of what looked to have been a black granite statue, very similar to what we saw in the Luxor Museum yesterday.
some pretty large tour groups ahead of us. So, all right, Ramses Temple. You guys want to go inside? We'll wait for a sec. And in some cases, you know, a temple is just a temple. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. I think you guys get the gist. Again, kind of what I'm looking for here is the floor areas, you know, the base of the structure, what possibly would have existed before. So we're looking for more exotic types of geology, not necessarily looking for sandstone paving, but megalithic pieces of red granite, black basalt, calcite crystal, these types of materials that we found in some of the more ancient structures. Good cigar. For anyone that's interested, I'm a huge fan of Warped cigar brand, and this is one of their newest additions, the Royal Palms Nicaraguan blend. Good stuff. Super early in the morning. Better way to start the day. All right, and as I was just mentioning, so we're back here around the white calcite crystal cube, and you can see here that there are some pieces of granite, big pieces of red granite here below this modern restoration work. All of this is modern restoration in through here, but this is ancient red granite. Now, it would be very difficult to say if this was originally tightly fitted polygonal masonry like what we see on the Giza Plateau, Valley Temple, for example. But compared to the rest of the sandstone work here in the temple, it certainly appears that this would be much, much older. It is a madhouse in here today. So now we're gonna, again, go around these tour groups. Search for Alexa, where I don't know where she disappeared to this time. Went this way? Okay, okay. Thank you. Our guides are great. And my colleagues from our host tour company here in Egypt have been amazing. Very, very knowledgeable. And you can see that, again, compared to the height of the people walking in here, you can see the scale of the construction. So certainly no small undertaking. Again, this is the kind of stuff, when I see blocks like this, these two pieces here are not consistent with the rest of the material, like these sandstone blocks in through here. Of course, these two pillars of red granite, and these two pieces here. I believe this is quartzite. Yeah, this looks like red quartzite. You can see the veins running through this piece. So I would bet that these two pieces of red quartzite here are also much older than the surrounding temple walls. All right, so now we're crossing into this area here on the diagram. I mean, these things are huge. So I certainly don't want to take anything away from the difficulty of construction. Wow, this is huge hall. And I mean, you could just spend all day wandering around this place, looking at all of the different areas of the temple. And this is one of those sites where, get out of the sun for a second, if you don't explore the entire area, there's so many things that can go overlooked or missed. So if I don't walk through an area completely, I might have passed by my only opportunity to discover what we came here searching for. You know, again, walking through a temple it's amazing and it's beautiful in here. Of course, we're investigating things that are, in my opinion, of much more significant importance. The function of these ancient structures. Of course, I don't think this temple per se had a function, but perhaps the ancient structure upon which it was constructed was functional. And the sites here in Luxor have been far busier than I've ever seen any structure around Giza. They are moving a lot of tickets, put it that way. All right. On to the next section. Here that you see in red. The highlight of this area being the obelisk that you can see here. So certainly in this area, we're returning to megalithic pieces of granite here. huge pieces of stone. This obelisk was originally a single piece of stone. You can see that it's on a huge base of red granite. I'm trying to stay in the shade as much as possible. Alright, so here you can see the obelisk base here, this huge piece of red granite. Okay, so starting here, this entire piece of stone is a massive piece of red granite. And the base of an obelisk, very similar to what you see here with these two pieces here. And walking around in through here, there's another pretty spectacular obelisk over here. Try to get us as close as possible. Damn. And again, you can see how immaculately executed the hieroglyphs are on this thing. I mean, they are spectacular. And I've always wondered and hypothesized, again, they say that these things were capped in electrum, a mixture of gold and silver. And I wonder if the hieroglyphs are actually an older language that was inherited by the dynastic Egyptians. And that some of these immaculately carved hieroglyphs on these immense pieces of stone were from the earlier civilization. And then the dynastic Egyptians came and, okay, here's a piece here. Okay, so this entire piece is more of that alabaster, white calcite crystal. All the rest of the bases in this area look to be sandstone and or restoration. But this piece here is alabaster, white calcite crystal. And it looks like they were attempting to replicate with sandstone what they had found here. All right, so as we're walking through this area, you can see areas of red granite that are integrated in pieces that have sandstone. So you can see here, this red granite here, and they fit the sandstone pieces to meet into the red granite. Again, you can see here, this is a tool mark, a saw blade cut in this piece of red granite here. See that? So this piece must have broken off You know, it wouldn't have, probably originally would have gone the whole length of this. This is much later, sandstone with hieroglyphs. This being much older with this type of tool work in it. And you can see that line going all the way up. But I will tell you, it's not perfectly straight. You can see an area here where it's crooked. You see it goes off, and it's super evident that it's not perfectly straight. So again, as I always say, the rhetoric about machine precision up to the millimeter and the blah blah blah, it's just not true. I can clearly see that this saw cut went off. So was it done by a machine? Most likely, but not the type of quote unquote lost ancient high technology laser beam precision that you hear this abundant rhetoric about this. It's just not the case. Is this a very impressive tool mark and saw cut? Yes, absolutely. But I can clearly see that the line is not completely straight. It's very, very crooked and bowed in through here, where the tool went off at some point in the cutting process. Let's see here. This is one of the pieces that I remember. Alright, so again, one of these things is not like the other. And I have a feeling that this is a lot of restoration work here in this piece. Again, you can see the red granite here. Yeah, this is, I'm pretty sure this is restoration. Can you confirm, do you think this piece, is this original or restoration?
Restoration.
Restoration. Yeah, yeah. But I wonder why they chose to use this material. Perhaps this doorway was diorite or maybe black basalt, and they chose to restore it with this black material. I mean, they have restoration over here on this one as well, which this is a very unusual piece over here that has that hole in the top of it. But you can see that the restoration over here is just out of regular concrete, but clearly they had some different materials that they could use. This one here has a cog embedded in it. See if we can see it from the other side, because the hole does go all the way through. Someone's purse here?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you can see birds flying in that hole. So that circular piece of red granite here has a square hole in it. You see a little bird in there. That piece almost looks like wood. So that's an unusual place to put that piece of restored work. And this piece looks to be black granite here. Here's some pieces here. So this is black basalt. Okay, so that's what they were doing. Again, you can see the threshold of this door, and we'll go over here in just a minute. That's black basalt. So that's why they chose that black looking restoration material, because they were attempting to replicate the original black basalt. Yep. It's okay. شكرا. Alright, so here's an area. It looks like there was a channel or canal over here. And we'll see what they call this area. Man, this place is huge and there's so much to cover here. Okay, so now we're in this area here where you can see this channel or canal right here. Is this here. Oh, it's still filled with water too. There's water in here. Okay, so indications that there were sources of water below the structure. Still water here today. And we'll walk back through this area here so we can take a look at that black basalt. Hang on just 1 minute. And I'll try to get a close-up picture and put this into the video. But here on this lintel beam, there's a pair of feet here. There's a foot here and a foot here, looking very much like regular legs. But then there's another set of feet over here that look like they have scales. And of course the top piece is broken off, and our guide was saying that they don't know what was above here or what those feet were attached to. But very unusual piece here. You can see some what looks to be copper oxide, green copper oxide. And I'll get a picture and I'll put that in now, and we're going to try to get over here to this area so we can see the black basalt area of this temple over here. All right, so now we're crossing into another area of the temple where we're moving away from sandstone into huge pieces of red granite. So this is all big, huge pieces of red granite in through here. Oh yeah.
We are here in the Holy of Holies.
You may have heard.
It's very important room because it looks like a church or mosque. The king should pray here 3 times daily. But because a lot of temples around and things are that's why sometimes he gives the order for the priest to came here every night. And actually there's no one because this is the bottom of the big area for the God Abraham from God, but it's well known today. I think it's time, like after the time. And also here in the front of the God and all around holy water and safe and blood. And it's not available for the king or like anyone.
All right, so another area of the site that is clearly different than the rest of the dynastic area construction. The guide over here was just describing this area once again as the Holy of Holies, the inner sanctum of the temple itself. And this appears to be a container. Certainly not a burial container though in this case. This is definitely not big enough for a body. It looks like there would have been a top piece that fit into the bottom piece here, where you can see that there was an inner component to this, and then this huge lid fit on top of it. We just saw in this direction that there's running water directly connected into this area of the structure. So again, indications that this is a much older portion of the entire temple complex, predating the sandstone dynastic area construction. I mean, this area is clearly distinguishable from the rest of the temple. Completely different material, completely different size of materials. And this is all just wear from people touching this over hundreds of years of tourism inside the structure. You can see here the lid would have been fairly ornate, but definitely not a burial. So the question remains, container for what? It does look like this is either red quartzite or red granite. It's hard to tell with the deteriorated state. The rest of the chamber is red granite, but this may be red quartzite. Very cool. Okay, so we were just inside this huge section of the temple here. This is all red granite. And now we're going to walk around here. Okay, so I just showed you those black restored doorways. And they used that restoration material because they were attempting to replicate the original material, which is here, black basalt. Actually, this may be black granite. Yeah, you can see the flecks of quartz in here, black granite. And you can see this frame here, the threshold frame is all black granite. So it certainly looks like the center of this area was all dug up and excavated down into here. This area appears to be original floor. It's difficult to determine what type of stone that was due to the wear on the floor. But this entire middle section here was all dug up. And we're very close proximity to that source of water. This is sandstone blocks the walls of this chamber, but given the black granite threshold and what we just saw adjacent to this, I would imagine that the foundation of this area is much older. And then there was something under here that was of particular interest for them to excavate down in through here.
And it is older than what we have seen. It is 2,000 years to see.
Okay, so over here was the area of that channel, that water-filled canal that we were just investigating. And I can already see here. Okay, so this area here is the Holy of Holies, this red granite area with the container housed in the center. We have the water-filled channel. And I don't know if you can hear that, but there's somebody in there demonstrating the profound acoustic properties inside of that red granite inner sanctum chamber. So let's walk back over here so you can see the proximity of this source of water over here, this channel. And my first instinct was just to jump over that, but let's not do that. I don't want to fall into the water here. That would certainly put a damper on the rest of the day. I will say this water is extremely stagnant. And that's basically the end of it. I don't know if you can hear that guy, but one of the tour guides is sort of chanting in there, demonstrating the acoustic properties. Again, it certainly looks like a cistern or a reservoir type thing here, and the channel leading back in this direction. All right. And so here, some more huge blocks of calcite crystal. Some interesting channels running through the top of this block. It actually looks like there was perhaps a square, a completely square. So this may be the base of something that was sat on top of here and fixed into place. It certainly looks like, and anytime I see these chisel marks on the side, it looks like something was removed from here. So remember, we were recently discussing the very shallow channels at the Pyramid of Winis in Saqqara that are of similar depth. These are wider. Again, the same craftsmanship as that square piece. In the center. But the entire top of that block has been removed. Here you can see that there was a channel in the top. I wonder now if that one in the front also housed a metal component that was running through this channel. Yep. And here are those tube drills. And our guide was saying that, conventionally speaking, this center area of the structure. Okay, so here's the diagram again, so you can get some orientation. Okay, so this area is that inner sanctum, the Holy of Holies. We're in this area here, standing about here right now. This is the water channel, and we're about to walk through this area of the structure here. Get in the shade for a minute. All right, so now we're inside of this beautifully decorated pillared temple area. And I was just talking with our guide about my research on Egyptian blue, because the ceilings in here are all painted with Egyptian blue. Calcium copper silicate, the first chemical compound that was ever synthesized. And in my previous episode, I explained how it requires a very consistent industrial scale manufacturing process to create this pigment. It also has all sorts of infrared properties where the pigment also absorbs and emits photons. But for example, if you were just painting the ceiling in here, you would need 100 gallons of paint to paint this area. This is just one area of one temple. So they were manufacturing hundreds of thousands of gallons of paint. A huge industrial scale chemical manufacturing operation just to make paint, not to mention all of the other compounds and chemicals that they would have been producing. I will say the blue is spectacular. And it's still vibrant after thousands and thousands and thousands of years. That's another thing that they discovered, was that the calcium copper silicate that was being produced by this civilization is incredibly stable. The chemical composition has not changed or deteriorated over thousands of years. An indication of the quality of the chemical product that they were able to produce. So this is just a really spectacular example of the utilization of the Egyptian blue.
It's still so vibrant after all these years.
Exactly what I was just saying. It's beautiful. All right, so our guide just brought us to this temple outside the main area to show us this artifact here. A false door that has 7 gates. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we've seen this 7-gate imagery and construction methodology also within, I keep referencing Casa Saga out in the Fayum Oasis, that has those 7 cells. The 7 stages of alchemical transformation that have also been discussed here on the channel. And it certainly looks like, you know, an interdimensional fractal portal. Very unusual. And I wonder what was housed here. Something was popped out of here. I would imagine that there was a piece of metal in here. I'm just looking in the cracks. You can see that there's some blue here, some what may have been blue paint or perhaps copper oxide from a copper inlay. Very unusual. And it appears that this entire structure here was mostly dedicated to this little gate, portal. So whatever this thing was of particular significance. Interesting stuff. All right, so here you can see the walls and the two obelisks that we were just investigating within the threshold of the Karnak temple. And now we're on the outside of the structure. Okay. Some more Egyptian blue on the ceiling here. Ah, okay. So there was most likely something here that came up and fit down into this piece here. And we're also missing a component was housed into these two pieces here. So you can see these bilateral, there's a housing here and a housing here, or something with a square edge. See here, my camera would stop doing what it's doing. Okay, you can see it here. Okay, again, piece that fit into here and here. That has since been popped out. Very interesting. I'm sure they would call this an offering table of some sort. And this tubular drill hole definitely connected into a missing component here. Another large single piece of red granite here. Stairway leading to the second floor of this temple here. These would have originally had a door that covered this up. See the housing for the door. And the two drills here and here, so there would have been a door that opened. Statues were usually housed in these little alcoves. And there most likely would have been a doorway here as well. Ptah there, the green. Yeah, this piece here definitely has my attention. It's very unusual. And a bit out of place with the rest of the temple. All right, so within the inner chamber of this little temple, I have here Ptah. Unfortunately missing his head. And over here, a spectacular black granite Sekhmet. Beautiful. It's really beautiful how the sun rays are shining through the aperture in the top of the chamber. All right, so before I show you what's behind me, I want to show you this area here. And I remember this from my first expedition to Luxor. This pathway here is huge blocks of red granite, and these walls are white calcite crystal. Immense pieces of stone. Again, an indication of a much older area of the temple itself, leading out toward the sacred lake. So again, huge pieces of red granite here. This white calcite crystal. Again, huge single blocks of white calcite. And sorry about that, the battery keeps cutting off. An immense block, single block of white calcite crystal. Again, leading out toward the sacred lake. An artificial reservoir here adjacent to the Karnak temple. See here the obelisks, one being significantly taller than all the rest. Here are these two huge pieces of white calcite crystal, this red granite walkway that goes underneath this. These sandstone blocks are covering up the red granite that would have led directly toward the sacred lake. So we have not only a canal or channel within the structure itself, we have another huge reservoir of water. So as always, we have water directly in connection with these sites. And then we have two spectacular artifacts here. Here's a red granite scarab.
Нет, только прямо делай. Да.
Again, single piece of red granite. All right, so over here by this quote-unquote sacred lake, way over here on this side, there is a huge square inlet hole and what looks to be a channel that could have been a fill inlet. It does look like it's an original part of the enclosure that was used to fill this artificial lake. And over here, there's also another channel. This one's covered. You can see this channel here. That leads down into a cistern here that's filled with water. And this channel here is also filled with water, similar to the one that we saw on the other side of the temple complex. I don't know if you can see down in there, but there's also water down in here. Clearly there was an association between this temple complex and water adjacent to and underneath the temple complex itself.
All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was Sunday Site Visit 56 from the Karnak Temple in Luxor. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in the next episode of the series, I will be discussing the function of a mysterious ancient site located in Ireland known as the Lake of the Branches, the Hill of the Witch, or Loch Crew. This is an episode you do not want to miss, so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube if you're interested in the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world. If you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage like the newest episode from the Osireion, check out the Land of Chem members only channel and the landofchem.com, links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our two new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats, for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time.
Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.